So many of us as entrepreneurs, we're so passionate. We have these big drives and these big hopes and these big dreams, and we really want to be successful and help people. And sometimes we avoid helping ourselves in the best ways to fuel our business and moving forward. In this episode, we're going to explore what to eat, what to do, what are some healthy habits to incorporate in your day so you're fueling your business forward to stay mentally focused and have the energy you need to be driven forward. All the resources for today's show, including a very special gift, can be found at thrivinglaunch.com/food. And when I say a special gift, this is an incredible opportunity because we've partnered together with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's where our guest today has been trained. It's where I was trained as a coach. This is an incredible school that teaches you not only about the basics of business and being a coach and being trained as a coach, but also how to nourish yourself, how to teach other people how to nourish themselves. You're learning over 100 different dietary theories. So head over to thrivinglaunch.com/food. Check out the show notes, check out the resources, and get $1,000 off tuition for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition today. We're here with Nina Manolson, who is a friend of mine who I had the pleasure of connecting with in Costa Rica for the very first time, and I've seen her in various corners of the globe since then. She is a holistic and wellness coach. She's been in the field for over 20 years. She's an author, and she's also certified in the psychology of eating, and she's a coach in that field as well. I'm really, really grateful to have you here, Nina. Are you ready to launch?
I am. I'm delighted to be here with you, Kamala. Really, always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, one thing that Luis and I really work with in our business is how do we stay balanced? You know, Luis, don't you find that too is like an important piece?
Well, especially, for us, because we're in a relationship. So we work together, and then afterwards, we also, we have a romantic relationship and a business relationship. And for us, a really key point and why Nina's on the show today is we want to talk about self-care and how to take care of yourself while you're running your own business. I mean, isn't it pretty easy to just find yourself kind of exhausted when you're running your own business?
It is. And that's exactly what happens is people who are entrepreneurs, when we are passionate about something, we decide, okay, great, let's start a business about it. So then you've got it's a little bit of a parallel between, you, Luis, and Kamala, which is like you've got the romantic thing going on and you've got the business thing. Well, when we're an entrepreneur, we have our passion and we've turned it into a business, right? So a lot of our energy is going out and it's going into creating, it's going into making something happen, right? So it's a lot of expenditure of energy. So if you think about it, even like if you could imagine sort of the posture of someone reaching out all the time, it gets a little tiring, right? Like physically, it's exhausting to be constantly reaching your arms out, creating something, giving something. So one of the things that's so important for us entrepreneurs to think about is how do we start receiving? How do we start bringing energy back in?
Yeah, that's a really big, important piece. And, one thing that I struggle with, as you know, my background is as a health coach and a wellness practitioner, and I've been doing that for so many years, but just being able to even keep my body nourished throughout the day and be able to put myself in a position to receive the relaxation and care that I need in order to sustain my business throughout the day and in order to sustain that motivation. So what are some really practical keys that you like to give away to people to help them to stay nourished while they're sitting in front of the computer all day long or, going to networking events and it's a really busy lifestyle?
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the things, before we get right into the nitty-gritty of it, there's just a frame that I like to think about nourishment with that I use in my work with clients, but that is completely translatable to how do you care for yourself in business. So I call it the nourishment dynamic. And my belief is that we often are trying to create nourishment and feed ourselves well, but just on a superficial level, just on the food level. And not that food isn't important. Of course it's important, right? It's a little like if you're in your business, you say, you know what? I just want to make more money. So I'm going to just like focus on the money, which is absolutely important. But we all know it takes more than that. It takes, how are we going to reach those people? How do we market them? What is our belief and mindset around how we deliver what it is, whether it's a product or a service? There's all that deeper mindset issue around business. So same is, and this is the model I use for my coaching and wellness work, is first we have in this nourishment dynamic the level of food, right? What are you going to eat? What's the practical thing that you're eating? The next level is lifestyle. How is that food actually going to get to you? How do you make it happen? Who's doing the cooking? Who's doing the shopping? How does that actually show up in your life? And then the deeper level mindset. How do you feel about your food? How do you feel about your body? What's your relationship with your food and body? So the way that shifts into play in business life is we have to think about, okay, so practically today, how am I going to nourish myself on the very fundamental level of food? How am I going to nourish myself? Because many of us, especially since our business world is now so connected to computers, many of us just sit down at the computer with something next to us. Like, oh, I'll just keep fueling myself as I go through my day. And that doesn't actually serve us. Sure, it'll keep you going, and I know a lot of people who are going for the coffee and the sugary things just to keep their energy going, but it doesn't give you that long-lasting energy boost that you really need. Like you were asking about, Kamala, how do we keep our passion going? How do we make it sustainable? How do we stay, positive and energized and wanting to deliver our message or our product in a sustainable way? So for that to happen, we have to have this food and nourishment on a very deep and real level. And one easy way I want you to think about it, because everybody is at a different place in what their food choices are, is what I call the quality continuum. So this is a term I coined, and what it means is that every food falls on a continuum, on a quality continuum. So a perfect example of this is like if what's next to you is, let's say, Cheez-Its, right? Like that's how you're sustaining yourself through the day. Okay, I got a bag of Cheez-Its and I'm going to keep nibbling them. So that's, I'd say, pretty low on the quality continuum of food. But let's go, we're now in the let's go cheese and crackers mode, right? So if we moved up a little bit, we'd get some plain cheese and crackers. Okay, so now we, instead of having a processed food that comes in a box, we've got something that's real, that's an actual food, a cheese and a cracker. Then let's move that up a little. And what if we went for high quality cheese, right? Something that's pasture raised, pasture fed, and whole milk, not a skim milk in that cheese. Okay, and then what if we move those crackers up the quality continuum? So instead of going for, Ritz crackers, we're going for a whole grain crackers or a gluten-free cracker like a Mary's Gone crackers. So then what's sitting next to you, right? You've moved yourself up the quality continuum to something that could actually sustain your energy and your focus. So that's on the basic food level, right? But if we take it down one notch into the lifestyle world, well, maybe instead of eating by your computer, you could do something that would support your whole body, which is get up, walk around a little bit, step into, a kitchen or a cafe or somewhere else where all you were doing was actually stopping and feeding ourselves. And there is study upon study that talks about the value of what I call eating when you're eating. So that when you're not working and eating, you're not, trying to get, you're not driving and eating, you're not walking and eating, you're just actually nourishing yourself. Because that break away will help us really connect in. When we connect back to our work, we're energized, we're focused, we can really give it our all. Have you ever had that experience, like you step away?
Definitely. I mean, that's such an important piece about, I don't like walking and eating or doing other things. Like for me, I really like to try to sit down with my meals anyways. I mean, snacks can be a little different for me, but sit down with my meals and take that space. And one thing I remember about you, something that you did one of the first times I spent time with you, is we sat down for a meal and you took out your phone and you had a timer on your phone to set a pause, to do a 2-minute meditation where you just sat in stillness. And the amazing thing about that, I mean, it may sound maybe even a little woo-woo to people, but the amazing thing about that is you're actually calming down your whole nervous system so you can prepare your body to digest better. And so the energy is going towards digestion rather than the fight or flight that we're typically in if we're in a stressed out state.
Absolutely. And I still do that. And the app that I use is called Insight Timer. And it just has this lovely gong. I set it for 2 minutes. I meditate before I eat. I do it with my kids at dinner time. And it is very powerful. And it does do just that. It moves our body from a state of sympathetic nervous system activation. That's that fight or flight. That's that, oh my gosh, the tiger is coming after me. The deadline is after me. I want to meet my quota for this month. I have to make 10 phone calls today. I got to get all my social media done. Whatever that stress is, that puts us into that sympathetic nervous system activation. And the tricky thing about the sympathetic nervous system activation is it actually reduces our metabolism. That means less calorie burning. It also reduces our body's ability to assimilate all the nutrition that is in our food. So what we want to do is shift our body to the parasympathetic nervous system activation. That's our rest and digest mode, or some people call it the tend and befriend mode, which I love that. And why we want to be over there is because that's where our body can actually digest and assimilate our foods. It also, this is what's really powerful for people who run businesses, is that when we move into that parasympathetic nervous system activation, when we move into rest and digest, we are telling our body, you know what, it's okay. We're not panicked, right? So when you're panicked, there's stress, there's something that happens in your brain, which is, oh my gosh, I have to focus very intently, and I have to hurry, because my life may be in danger. So there's this feeling of I don't have a lot of time. And when we're in that tight, I don't have a lot of time, it's very hard to be creative. But when we move over to that parasympathetic nervous system activation, tend and befriend, rest and digest, suddenly it's creative again. We're suddenly able to problem solve in our business. We're able to really process, right? So if we're working on the food level, I'm keeping my blood sugar stable because I've got a healthy, high-quality snack. We're working on the lifestyle level. Okay, I'm taking 2 minutes to breathe and relax before I eat. We're actually opening ourselves up to be more creative and more productive. And it happens like when, people say I get all my ideas in the shower. That's what's happening, right? Suddenly it's like, I'm relaxed. We shift from the sympathetic, that stress mode, oh my gosh, I got so much to do, to, warm water on me, I can relax, I'm in parasympathetic, and then my mind can start to be creative, and I can be my most productive in my business.
I absolutely agree with that and find that. And a piece of that also is eating really quickly. And I know that's something that Luis, we've worked with is like, okay, put down the fork while we're eating, right? What do you feel about that, Luis? Do you feel like when you eat fast, you're not digesting as well, or you're more stressed and you're trying to hurry up through the meal?
I don't know, because I haven't stopped my habit of eating really fast.
I'm always saying, put down your fork and maybe.
I call that fork Runway Fork. It's like there's always a plane on the runway ready to take off. Right? It's like I'm eating a bite, and then your next fork is like, okay, next plane, ready to go. I'm like, so if you can look at it and go, you know what? It's okay. The food is there on my plate. It'll be there in a second. Like I can put my fork down for a moment. It's very, very powerful to get out of that runway fork mentality. And there's 5 specific diets. I'm not a diet person. I'm not into restriction or any of that. But I'm always want to encourage people to pick up one of these 5 diets that I do believe in. And the 5 diets, the first one is the sit-down diet, right? Just sit down. No matter what you're eating or how much you're eating, just sit down, right? And then the second diet is the media-free diet. This is one of the hardest ones for entrepreneurs and business people to do. No TV, no computer, no phone, no books, nothing, right? Just you and your food. Because when we're in relationship to media, we're in that response mode. We're responding and being in relationship to an external stimulus. So the media-free diet brings you actually into relationship with yourself and with your food. It's kind of a self-attunement diet. The other thing is you'll notice the taste of your food a lot more when you follow the media-free diet. And then there's the breathing diet, right? This is another really super fast way to bring consciousness or relaxation or higher metabolism, better calorie burning to your meal. And that is breathing, right? Because a fast metabolism is when our body burns our calories quickly. So a calorie is a measure of heat released when something's burned. So just like a fire, when it has more oxygen, it burns more efficiently. So if you want to maximize metabolism, breathing fully, slowly, deeply, that's your ally. Because if you breathe in more oxygen, you burn more fully, more efficiently. So breathing before you eat and breathing in between bites. So that's the third diet that I believe in. The fourth diet is the prayer diet, right? That's saying some kind of prayer of gratitude. Almost every spiritual or religious tradition has some kind of specific prayer for before eating, because it does just this. It moves us into more mindfulness, more awareness of what we're eating, and it also moves us into the parasympathetic nervous system activation. So that's the prayer diet. And the last one, I know, Kamala, you're going to love this one. It's called the pleasure bite diet.
Oh, God, yes.
So this one is when the first bite of any meal is like the most totally sensual pleasure bite, like orgasm in a bite. And like imagine like wine tasting or chocolate tasting, that like, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible, like let me experience this deeply in every cell of my being, the flavors, the textures, getting so caught up in the pleasure of that first bite. And I would of course love to say the pleasure diet in general, have that be every single bite. But honestly, if you can just focus on that one first bite being that way, it will, and keep doing that at every meal, it will slowly infiltrate into the rest of the bites during the meal.
Yeah, I can't even help that. I mean, when I'm, it's just, I mean, I guess it takes practice for some people, but like, oh God, just when you get into something really good and you let it, I mean, just having the pleasure of eating. I mean, what's more intimate than that other than sex? I mean, you're letting something inside your body and you're having this whole experience with the food. So I think that's my favorite one by far.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the reality is everybody will resonate, like everybody will choose, and it doesn't matter which one. They're all good. There's no right way to start, and they're a little bit like a strand of pearls. You pick up one and the others will follow suit. You'll have that whole experience of slowing down when you have the pleasure bite, right? Or you'll have that experience of breathing a little more once you do your prayer diet. So they weave together, but it's very helpful for us to go, okay, this is the one thing I'm focusing on. And that's one thing I want to say, like, it's so tempting when we're doing, building a business to go, okay, I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this and I got to do that. And one of the things that I've learned a lot in all the work that I've done to grow my business is, okay, I definitely want to do a zillion things at once, but let me focus on one thing at a time, get it done, right? Get my website done. Good. That's great. Okay, now I'm going to move into the social media world. Okay, great. That's good. And it's not that they don't, again, weave together, but my attention and my focus on one thing helps me make that really come to fruition. And same here with the diet that you're going to choose. You want to just choose one. It helps your brain focus on what's the priority right now.
Not everybody listening to this show is going to totally be in agreement with this or like it, but I'm a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. and I think
it's his dirty little secret.
and he's an incredible businessman. I mean, undeniably, doesn't matter whether or not people like him or, dislike him. He's an amazing business person. And I was reading from his book, and one of the things that he talks about as a key to his success is he gives 45 minutes of undivided attention to a task, and then he stops and does something else. And he says he does that pretty much with everything. Is 45 minutes, if he's reading a book or writing something or talking to someone, he doesn't have other windows open on his, on his computer. He's not multitasking, and he absolutely abhors trying to multitask. He says one task, otherwise your mind just gets incredibly disrupted, and your ability to really accomplish that task to its fullness is highly diminished.
Yes, I agree. And when I'm writing, I can do that. I just get into okay, I'm just going to write. And then when I'm sort of spinning my wheels, I'm like, oh, I need to stand up, move around, come back, and then, oh, I've got it again. Then I can refocus.
Yeah, those 10-minute breaks can really make a big difference. Just even, okay, I've been at my computer. All right, I think I need to stand up and stretch, and that's a really big piece.
But it's a little interesting because when I work with entrepreneurs and people who are in business, when they take that 10-minute break, they often say, and then I go to the kitchen for a snack. So, one of the things that I want to leave you with is when you get up for those 10 minutes is think of other things that could nourish you. And I would say even more than think of other things that can nourish you is actually write a list down. And this came from, I lived for about 5 years in an intentional community, a yoga and health center. And when I first moved there was a huge dorm of women, and there was this wonderful woman next to me, and she had this list of things like go for a walk, call a friend, write in my journal, list of things that were nourishing, which I didn't know what it was right away. So I said, well, what is that list? She said, well, those are things that are nourishing to me. Those are ways that I can take care of myself. And I said, well, why do you have a list? They kind of seem sort of self-evident to me. And she said, well, because when I most need them, I can't remember what they are. And so the most nourishing thing to me seems like going to get a cookie, right? She needed a visual reminder. And it's something I always encourage people to do is create a visual list. What are the things that nourish you besides what's in your pantry, right? It may be, what's really going to nourish me is just put on a song and boogie down for a couple minutes. What's really going to nourish me is, do some yoga stretches. What's really going to nourish me is to call a dear friend, right? To look for the things that are nourishing on a deeper level so that food isn't your only go-to in terms of, oh, okay, I got a minute. I got to get away from my computer. let me just eat something.
I absolutely agree with that and love that, because when we are getting the nourishment that we need, or the enough good touch even, those kind of things can really support us in feeling more nourished so we don't turn to the food. And another piece of that has really made a huge impact in my business is eating breakfast. I would wake up wildly excited about a project and then just start working on it. And then by 2 p.m. I would just crash. And then one thing that really helped me is he brings me breakfast in the mornings sometimes when I'm really devoted on my projects. And when I was writing my last book, he was bringing me breakfast. And it was just, what an incredible way to start the day and make sure that I have that sustained energy. So I think that's a big piece. And one thing that people really struggle with is, what do I eat? That's one thing I used to hear a lot as a health coach. Oh, well, I just don't know what to eat. And maybe as a closing thought, I'd love to hear, what are some of your snack ideas that you'd leave the listeners with? We've talked about how to get nourished in other ways, but when they're actually going for the food, what are some of your favorites of what people can keep on hand of the healthier version? I think buying the healthiest version of the Cheetos is the way to go. Go for the baked organic, rather than the real stuff. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
So, before we get into like sort of the what's the upgrade of a junk food, one of the things that I would say is the easiest thing for people who are by a computer a lot of the day is to make a big smoothie in the beginning of the day, so that there's always something that's going to sustain you. So there's always something when you walk into the kitchen, I can pour myself a little more smoothie. That's there. And it's homemade. And there's two types of smoothie you can play with. One is, fruit smoothie with lots of superfoods in there, with some hemp seeds or chia seeds or almonds, some kind of, protein base there, something that really nourishes you. That's a great afternoon lift at that kind of slumpy time of the day. But the one that I'm a huge fan of, and it may sound a little, out there for some, but it's getting much more mainstream, which is my green smoothies. And if you can make a green smoothie first thing in the morning and have it there for you, your energy will skyrocket. And if you're looking, and Kamala, I hope it's okay, I can offer everybody a resource of where to get really great recipes. So if you go to ninamanolson.com/Deluxe Green Smoothie Starter Kit. It's all one word. So it's Nina Manolson, which is Manolson, ninamanolson.com/Deluxe Green Smoothie Starter Kit. You'll find an incredible ebook there with beautiful pictures of green smoothies, easy instructions, lots of recipes. So I would say a great start is to go green smoothie. Or superfood smoothie if you're just sort of starting in the smoothie world. If you really cannot pull something together in a blender and it has to be out of a package, I would say, honestly, make yourself, this sounds sort of hokey, but get yourself some oats and make yourself a big pot of oatmeal and make it once in the week. And so that it's there. You don't have to remake it. You make it one time, and then great. I got a little bowl for a breakfast, or I got a little bowl for a snack. But it's something that's there. I would do the same with quinoa. Big pot of quinoa in the beginning of the week. Whenever you make it once so that it's you can eat it many times.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you for that resource. We'll make sure that's posted too, so if you can't remember the whole link. We've been here with Nina Manolson. It's been amazing to have you on the show talking about how to have self-care in business. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping us launch even more.
Yeah, thank you, Nina.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. Make sure to get your $1,000 off tuition for the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and all the resources for today's show at thrivinglaunch.com/food. Be sure to tune in to the next episode where we're going to talk with Shraddha, who's coming to us all the way from India. And we're going to be talking about how to believe in yourself. If you've enjoyed this episode today, be sure to go over to iTunes and see that you're subscribed. Thank you so much and keep thriving.